Hello, everyone, and happy International Women's Day. My name is Naomi Sabu, a global senior leader in the fashion and retail industry for more than 20 plus years. Currently running my own brand consultant business that works with startups all the way through to corporate entities that have purpose, a philanthropic arm, and most importantly, a sustainable focus. I'm also the founder and owner of my recently launched passion project of mine called Vintage in the City, an e-commerce platform, as well as doing vintage styling. I'm a very proud member of Feely ever since it all started. It's a female mastermind, an incredible community, a tribe of accomplished, driven, successful women. We're there to support, elevate, expand, and encourage its members to be and do their best in everything that they do. Thank you, Feely and AA Labs, for creating this special International Women's Day virtual celebration. It's my great pleasure to be able to introduce one of our keynote speakers. Zara Tisch, the founder of Therese. Therese was founded by Zara Tisch, a forever optimist. Zara is a ball of energy with a creative, vibrant streak. She believes in living life to its fullest. Her middle name, Therese, is something that's very close to her heart, and it was created by her mother, and it's a combination of two of her grandmother's names. Zara was born and raised in New York, and this is where her brand is based. She currently lives in New York City with her husband, her three children, and her three dogs. It is my honor to introduce you today to Zara Tisch. Thank you for joining us, and please enjoy.
Hi, everybody. I am Zara Tisch, founder and CEO of Therese. I am thrilled to be here with you all today, whatever day that may be, today, tomorrow, but whenever you're here. Um, First and foremost, I want to send love to you all, and I hope that you, your family, your loved ones are all healthy and safe. Um, this has been quite a year for all of us. Uh, I'm coming to you live from, as you can see, my bathroom. I thought that that would be fitting, especially for this, as I spent a majority of this past year here doing work, doing Zooms. You know, we're all working, we're all figuring out new ways of life, how to keep going, how to be nimble. Besides privacy and really good Wi-Fi in here, um, it serves as an incredible background as to how who I am and and just the transparency that I have into my life, into our world. Um, if you're familiar with Therese, you might know us for our vibrant patterns, colorful legging designs in the active space. But the truth be told, that is just the medium that we use in order to express our mission, our message that um, I guess I created back in 2008 from my parents' basement. Um, I wanted to create something. I wasn't sure at the time what it was, but create something that made me feel happy and then in turn other people happy as well. But before we go into that, let's talk about a little bit about the focus and the celebration of why we are all here to honor and celebrate International Women's Day. It's incredible, right? It's incredible what we have accomplished. You know, over the past few years, there's been um, so much talk, so much focus, so much empowerment. There have been companies and brands and articles and panels and more women taking charge and coming into power. You know, in the United States, we have our first woman in office as vice president. That is remarkable. But to me, what does it mean? What does it mean to me, right? Um, you know, it's interesting because I feel as though I'm one of the fortunate ones. I never thought that because I was a woman that I wouldn't be able to go into business or start my own business. And the reason for that is because of a man. That's true. My father. My father is has always been my biggest cheerleader, my biggest supporter. Told me that if I put in the hard work, if I believe in something, that I can go and do it and get it done, and that he would be there to support me. But again, I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm one of the fortunate ones. And that's why International Women's Day is so important. So that we can support one another, so that we can come together and celebrate each other's successes, so that we aren't pitting each other against one another, but instead standing side by side, like what Gloria Steinem had said. We're linked, we're not ranked. And that is how you can build your company. That is how you can build yourself and build your brand, by supporting and connecting with others. And that is why International Women's Day is so important. You know, I have 3 kids. I have 2 girls, 1 boy, and I think about it. I think about it all the time. You know, what their future holds, what they want to do, and let them know, not just say it from a superficial level, but actually have them believe that their dreams can become a reality. To equip both of my girls with the tools and the confidence, um, that they can be anything that they want to be in the entire world. And for my son to be able to have the sensitivity and the support, and to support his sisters and the women that stand by side him, and to collaborate. We have to teach them. We have to teach them young. Um, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here talking to all of you. You know, going back, why did I create Therese? Why does a brand exist? And I think that is the most important reason for, for any sort of business or brand, is to understand that. And it took a very long time for me to understand it, because at first it was just a feeling. And that, I believe, is the same for a lot of people. Sometimes you might have a specific direction or specific product or a service or an area, that industry that you want to disrupt. For me, I had just graduated college. I had gone through a lot, um, of traumatic events in my life. I had lost someone very dear to me, who was, um, I, my high school sweetheart, the love of my life at that point in my life. And I wasn't sure of my future. Everything that I loved was gone, and everything that I was passionate about. But I was supported by my family and my friends. Remember, I said I'm a lucky one. I was the fortunate one. And the reason for that is because of my network and my support. And so I knew I wanted to create something. I wasn't sure what it was. And as I said before, I needed something that helped me to make the choice to go forward in my life, to make me happy. And in turn, I wanted to make other people happy, because it was infectious. If you're happy and they're happy, makes someone else happy, because we're all going through these journeys. We all have hills, we all have valleys, and we can choose to stay in that valley or continue up. But it's easier if we can do it together. And so at the time, I didn't really understand why, and I decided to start um, a leather handbag company in New York in 2008 from my parents' basement. And that was when the country went into recession. I quit my job. I actually, I said to my parents, I said, I'm going to start, I have this idea. I'm going to start a leather handbag company. It's all going to be about expression and making me happy. And the inside of the bags are going to be colorful. And so the inside and the outside is, what counts. All of this was going through my head. And as much as my father supported me, he said, "No, you're not getting into this business." My father was and is a garmento, and that's a story for another time in New York. And so he's like, "You're not getting into this industry." And my mother said, "You're 22. Now is the time. We're behind you." I was living home to save money. We lived on Long Island in a little surfer town called Atlantic Beach. And I started my business out of their basement from the money that I had saved from work after I graduated from a company, and the support of my parents, both financially and emotionally. So that was the beginning of my journey. Um, and I realized very quickly that it was going to be difficult. Starting a company in the middle of recession, especially a leather handbag company, probably wasn't the best of ideas, as every single person said no. I would talk to different department stores. I would show people, what we did, what I stood for, what I believed in. And it was no, no, no. Or I would get in, sometimes I would get into a store, but I wouldn't get the reorder. But it was about picking up the phone, taking my samples, going into the stores, telling them about me, about what I believed in. Um, and I didn't give up. I also had people and a support system behind me that wouldn't allow me to give up. I guess you could say I was resilient. Um, there's a story, and I was starting to talk about it with Bloomingdale's. And it's a very interesting story. For I was doing handbags, and this is before I did activewear. And the only way at that time that they would, I guess, showcase Therese is if I would come into the store and do trunk shows for them. So that means they don't pay for it. I come bring samples and I get paid for on anything that sells. And I would come every single weekend and I would set up a table with my samples and I would sell. And I would tell everybody our story and what we were about. And believe it or not, we ended up selling more bags than anything else on the floor on the certain weekend. And I was excited. So I ended up asking the buyer if I could meet with her because we were having really great results. And it took a little bit of time for her to accept our meeting, but I brought my samples. I brought her up I went up to the office and I sat there and I got prepared. I was all dressed up. I was ready. And I showed her all of our samples and my collection. I said, "Here is my collection. This is what it stands for. And here is all of the data that your customer loves our handbags." Um, and her response to me was I would, that she would not be purchasing or picking up my line at any point, that the only way that I could ever be in Bloomingdale's was by doing these trunk shows, and that I will never be a brand on their floor, that I was just not equipped for it. And that is not the type of brand that they stand behind. That I was, I wasn't a label. I wasn't something that was of value to them. But if I was going to, put all my time into it, then that's okay. I left that meeting completely heartbroken. And that story isn't an anomaly. That happened a lot of different ways and a lot of different times. And the reason that I ended up pivoting into what we do today is because as life continued on, I knew more and more why Therese needed to exist and what it stood for. It stands for positivity. It stands as a connection for us all. It stands for joy. And at the root, the celebration of life, the good moments of life, the small moments, the big moments, the things that we all need to remember on a daily basis. And for that reason, I couldn't give up. And I needed to do anything that I possibly could in order to survive and keep going. So to make some money in around 2010, I ended up taking the linings outside of the bags, which happened to be in spandex. My manufacturers did not like that. But I made these small little scuba cases out of them just to, they were inexpensive and I could sell them to stores, and it kept some money coming in so I could keep the doors open. And during a trade show, I had a beautiful leather handbag collection, and I had some extra samples laying around of our colorful scuba kits or makeup cases, whatever you think they are, but we call them scuba cases. And they were in a basket in the middle of a table. And during this particular trade show, where on most trade shows, and a trade show, for those of you that don't know, is used to be a big space where different brands would come together and sell to retailers. They would come and they would see multiple lines at once so that you wouldn't have to go so the retailer wouldn't have to go see multiple different brands. And my booth was always empty. Depressing. I know. And I would, we would make up, different buyers, because if it looked like you were busy, then people wanted to come in and see. So we would do different things. But at this particular trade show, I had some very special people come in, and they walked into my booth. They were all dressed proper, and I knew they had to be somebody important. You just know sometimes. And they didn't go over to my leather handbag collection, but instead they went over to the table with the basket that held all of the colorful scuba cases from the linings of my bags. And they said, "What are these?" I said, "There's my scuba cases." And they said, "We want these. This is what we want." And I was thinking to myself, I was like, "Well, what about this beautiful collection that I worked on?" They said, "No, this is what it's at." And I realized that day that I had been hiding my truest self inside for so many years. And it was time to bring that out. And that day, I got into Neiman Marcus. So it was the DMM of Neiman Marcus, Urban Outfitters, and a Japanese distributor. And they all wanted the same thing. our colorful, fun, vibrant prints. And from there, my mind just exploded. And I knew what my purpose was, and it all started to make sense. And the following year, we took those same linings and put them into the ultimate accessory, which were leggings, full of color, full of vibrancy. And I haven't looked back since. It's been challenging. It still has its challenges. COVID has brought its own set of challenges, but I believe in why I'm here and why Therese exists, in being nimble, in understanding our purpose. And for this reason, I wake up every single day ready to connect people, to look for the joy, to take everything that's going on in their lives and going on in our life and look for those small moments, the good. Believe me, this is much easier said than done, for sure. And it's a daily practice. But this is our why. This is why we exist. And it's been, I'm a mom now, mom 3 times. I have 3 dogs. I have an incredibly amazing, supportive husband who has encouraged me from the very beginning. And we make people happy and we love what we do. And that's what I encourage everybody to do. There is so much opportunity in this world that my advice is to do something that makes you happy. Whatever it is, make sure that it makes you happy. It could be anything. Truly. I always thought that things happened overnight. I guess I'm romantic that way. That you just fall in love or everything just happens. And during one of my events, because as I said, tragedy actually has been the fuel that helps me to choose joy and positivity. And during the first funeral that somebody that was very closely affected to me, that affected me, somebody, came over to me, a woman and a mother, and she said, "Zara, remember this." She said, time is your friend. And at the moment, I didn't really understand what that meant. And nor did I want to. I just wanted to be somewhere else and realize, and just get out of it. And I couldn't believe the devastation that had happened and came to my life. But that quote, that piece of advice doesn't just pertain to loss in life, but about your life journey as well. Is that as time goes on, as you experience more successes, losses, things come into focus and you start to understand more about yourself, who you are. Nothing will ever go away. Loss will never go away. Challenges will never go away, but they will become softer and you can learn from them and you can create good out of them. And that's why it's very important to understand time and that you grow every single day. So don't try to rush that. Just be who you are all the time, or as much as you possibly can. It is a constant practice, but I probably have been talking too long. I don't even know how long. But I am thrilled to have been here, to been able to connect with you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for coming and tuning in. You can learn more about me and Therese. You can go to Therese.com or follow us on any social media, Instagram at Therese. I look forward to seeing you all and hopefully meeting one day. Have fun. Do a little dance. Bake a little cookies. I'm making meringue pops downstairs right now. Find what you're passionate about. Do all of the things that you want to do. Stay safe. Hug your loved ones tight. Sending love to you all. Thank you.